And welcome to a special episode here at the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. I am fortunate enough to have with me the head football coach for the FAMU Rattlers, none other than Coach Shotgun Willie Simmons. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Notice you finally got our name right.
Well, you know how it is, brother, man. It's long days, long hours. You're experiencing that right now with your latest invitation for the FCS bids for the playoffs, and congratulations to you, sir.
I appreciate it, brother. It means a lot.
Yes, sir. Now, look, we know that you are one that is not bashful and shame, that you believe in your program and what you guys are doing down in Tallahassee. Were you surprised to the fact that you got this bid?
Well, I won't say I was surprised. I think we had a good idea that we were on the bubble, like probably six other teams for those last few spots. And we knew we had to take care of business in the game on Saturday. And once we ended the game, winning in convincing fashion, once we got in the locker room, we saw scores of those other teams, and all of them lost. And so at that point, I felt a lot better about our chances because again, if you had left us out and let one of those teams in who had gotten beat on basically a championship Saturday, it would have been a travesty. But just blessed that the committee recognized and appreciated our body of work and giving us a chance to go play for FCS National Championship.
Yes, sir, and it's a great opportunity indeed. But I'm pretty sure it was a lesson learned from back in 2015 where the table appeared to be set. But I'll just say one institution, kind of in your neck of the woods where you are now, University of Faith.
Yeah, that one there kind of I guess came back to bite us that year. At the time scheduling the game, we didn't know that the game wouldn't count towards our overall record. The NCAA made that decision after the game had been scheduled, but nevertheless, we still felt, given the fact that we ended the season on a winning streak, much like we did this year, our only loss in conference and at the FCS level was to the conference champ, who was an undefeated FCS ranked team in Grambling State that year. Another loss was to an FBS opponent. So we had the exact same resume without the University of Faith game, but the difference I think this time is that because we seen what history had done to us, we started that conversation about week 5 as opposed to maybe week 10 or 11 back in 2015. So we kind of put the bug out and got in some people's ears about if FAMU runs the table and Jackson State runs the table, and you have a no-loss FCS team and a one-loss FCS team, what's the chance of that one-loss team getting into the playoffs? And I think enough of those conversations were had that the committee really started to take a closer look at what we were doing on the field, and the fact that we got ranked last week, I think, really helped us out as well.
Right, the ranking always pulls. Now, I'm a little biased when it comes to rankings. I think rankings are more like popularity contests, but it is what it is. They do have value, and the case in hand, you get an invitation to the FCS playoffs. Now, another noted progress, or should we say success with this program, you accomplished this within your first year of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, which I can't recall when an invitation was extended to a SWAC school, sir.
I think the last one was 97, I want to say. And I think that's when they still had an automatic bid. May have been Jackson State that went that year. So it's been a while, since a SWAC school has been given an at-large bid. I know the MEAC, A&T got an at-large bid back in 2015, or 16. So it's been 5 years since an HBCU has been represented in the FCS playoffs. But we're very honored and blessed to be in this position, and we're just not here to say we got into the playoffs. Obviously, we're here to finish it off and try to compete for a Division I FCS national title, which, of course, most people know the very first one in 1978 was won by Florida A&M. So we're trying to repeat history here, and our guys are very excited about that opportunity.
Absolutely. Your first mode of action will be coming to the state of Louisiana and give us a little insight, if you could, of your opponent and what it's going to take for you guys to get in that victory circle.
Well, obviously, we found out today that our opponent is Southeastern Louisiana out of the Southern Conference. We don't know much about them at this point. We're in the process of exchanging film now to try to get a good idea of who those guys are. What we do know is that they have one of the top offenses in all of FCS, led by their quarterback Cole Kelly, 6'7", 260-pound NFL prospect. He's one of the top offensive rated FCS prospects coming out this year, and so we know he's going to be a handful. They've scored a ton of points this year, do a really good job on offense, and so our defense, which just so happens to be one of, if not the top ranked defenses in FCS, will face his toughest challenge to date. So looking forward to the matchup. Again, I think it's something that Rattler Nation will be fired up about, making that short trip over to Hammond, Louisiana. And even though their stadium only seats about 7,500 people, I know over half those will be wearing orange and green on Saturday. Well, preferably orange. I think they're green as well, so we need to make sure we stay decked out in orange so we'll be able to differentiate.
I know that's right. Make sure you got the lines unblurred, so you want the right fans in the right section. 7,500 seats. Sounds small compared to what you guys are accustomed to playing in, and most of your SWAC stadiums are around 10,000 seats. That's got to be, depending, I guess, on the sidelines. I've never seen the outlay of their field or the the scope or how close the stands are to the field or whatnot. But that could be pretty intimidating under playoff circumstances, huh?
Well, we'll see. Not sure. Again, I've been there before. I think that's where they used to host the Peyton Manning passing academy, and I was able to work that camp for 2 years. So I spent a little bit of time in Hammond. My first time eating crawfish was at the Manning Academy back in the early 2000s. But again, I think it's a nice stadium. Again, it doesn't matter to our fans, though, whether it's a huge stadium or a quaint stadium. Rattler Nation is going to show up like they do every time we travel and really make themselves heard. And I think we'll be able to have a nice advantage there with our fan base because with them cheering, it'll feel much like a home game to us.
Absolutely. And we know that Rattler Nation does travel well. And with you coming out of the gate against the now Eastern Division champions, Jackson State, well, I know you've been having nightmares tossing and turning on the one that got away, huh?
Well, again, obviously, had we not gotten a bid, I probably wouldn't have slept for the foreseeable future. We dropped that first game by 1 point and had a chance to win it there at the end. But I really think, you learn a lot about your football team in the face of adversity. And after that game, sitting in that locker room, a lot of people saw the post-game speech because of the ESPN documentary, how passionate that speech was. I took full ownership, but I told them there's a standard that we have here. And right now, we're not living up to that standard. And so we challenged those guys in the locker room. We challenged the coaches, everyone here. And those guys really responded in a major way. And so it's you never can say what would happen. Hindsight's always 20/20. But we had a few games this year where we had to really dig deep and show what we were made of. We were down 18 to Alabama A&M in the third quarter and came back and won the game. We got down late versus Mississippi Valley and on the road and came back and won the game. So had we not lost that game by that 1 point, who's to say that maybe we don't drop that one against A&M or that one against Valley because we didn't have that come to Jesus meeting like we had to have. So, obviously the Celebration Bowl SWAC championship is always a goal of ours, but the opportunity to go to the FCS playoffs and again compete for an FCS national championship is something that I know Rattler Nation is fired up about, and obviously with our multiple conversations we've had in the past, I know the FCS playoffs is something that we've talked about in detail as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I tell you what, and you might as well, since you're on a roll, you got that Wildcat off your back too, sir.
Oh, well, yeah, man. That was joking last night. I feel about 50 pounds lighter because we finally got that monkey off of our backs. But again, it's something that, as a coach, I had to get the Grambling monkey off my back earlier this season. I hadn't been Coach Files and Grambling as a head coach, was able to do that. And then the Florida Classic was the last one. And truth be told, not just the Florida Classic, but really neutral site games had been my Achilles heel. Three in the State Fair Classic, then losing obviously 2 Florida Classics down in Orlando, and then the Orange Blossom Classic. I never said it publicly, but kind of secretly, I was like, man, what in the world is going on with me in these classic games? And so it really felt good to get that one, off my back. And and just be able to breathe a little bit. I know Rattler Nation is fired up. They're still partying right now in Orlando, so it's a great feeling just to be able to beat those Wildcats in that terrible 9-year losing streak.
Yes, sir. Now, many people are not real familiar on how the FCS playoffs work because some say, we're not interested, but I beg to differ. I figure if you're going to be a part of the system, you might as well be a part of everything that the system has to offer. The travel and the arrangements, how are those set up when you get into the playoff rounds?
So the NCAA obviously covers the lot of the travel expenses. I know as far as the hotels and the travel. Now I'm not sure about meals. That may be on the team, but as far as the travel arrangements and then the hotels are all set up by the NCAA. So I think there'll be very minimal cost to the football program. I know there's a bid that you have to put in to host, and I'm not sure how that process works because we would have loved, obviously, to host the game this weekend. But nevertheless, we're excited about the opportunity to travel to Louisiana. It's not too far from here, and again, it gives us a chance to play regional football, which the SWAC has afforded us that opportunity to play in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in those Arkansas, in the southeastern region. So we're a lot more familiar driving, west, southwest than now in the SWAC, as opposed to in the past having to drive northeast as members of the MEAC.
Yes, sir. Now, when you talk about the travel arrangements and this, that, and the other, would you by chance have the opportunity to place a bid to host an FCS playoff game if necessary, or would it be because of the rankings?
Well, right now, no. This round, the second round is already set. That game is going to be in James Madison, at James Madison. So whoever wins this game between us and Southeastern will travel up to Virginia to take on James Madison, and that's just one of the advantages of having that first round bye. You sit there with the home game in the second round, and so that's already set. So there's 8 games this weekend, and again, you have 8 teams get to host, 8 teams get to travel, and then after that, then it goes to the highest seeded team. So, but that's the system. This is our first year being a part of it, and so I haven't looked in depth enough to really challenge the system, but it would have been nice to host. But again, I'm not 100% sure what all goes into that.
Absolutely. We're talking right now with Coach Willie Simmons on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. The FAMU Rattlers get an invitation to the FCS playoffs bids. First time in a mighty long time that a SWAC team gets to participate in the FCS playoffs. Now, let me ask you this, Coach. Did you get any type of support from the home conference in regards of your destiny? I know they're proud and glad, but some change always go a little further down the road.
Well, I must say, to see Commissioner McClellan, Dr. McClellan, at the game yesterday really meant the world to us. You had a marquee game going on there between Alcorn State and Jackson, right there, in his backyard. Some other, games, big games they could have attended. But for him to be a part of the Florida Classic, 2 teams that are new to the conference, us really, vying for a playoff berth, really, really meant a lot. It showed his support. It showed his commitment to these programs, to this conference. And I think Dr. McClellan wanted us to be in the conversation. It looks good for the SWAC to have 2 ranked football teams. I'm not sure when the last time that's been done at the end of the regular season. And so, just to have 2 ranked teams and a great SWAC championship game coming up in a couple of weeks between Jackson State and Prairie View. Again, us going into the FCS playoffs. This has been a great year for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and we knew, all of us that have been a part of it knew what type of year we were capable of having. But just to see it all come to fruition has really been enjoyable to be a part of this year.
Absolutely, sir. And we may mention on our show that the 3-headed monster that make up the top 3 coaches within the Southwestern Athletic Conference as far as football is concerned have one common denominator, and that's athletic director Ashley Robinson. Have you had a chance to talk to him since you received the invitation and everything, and speak on the opportunities that he provided for you to become with your first head coaching job? And does he have that Midas touch?
Well, I actually saw a post. Well, first off, yeah, we had an opportunity to speak last week, and obviously he wished me all the best. And we still have a great relationship. You know, he's become a friend of mine after hiring me, and I have a ton of respect for the job that he's done and continuing to do. But I did see a post a couple of weeks ago when it first came out that he had hired me, Coach Prime, and Dooley to our first jobs. That you talk about the quarterback whisperer. He's the head coach whisperer. You know, so again, he's obviously done a really good job. And I tell you what, it takes a lot for an athletics director to comb the college landscape and seek out head coaches, particularly guys that you're giving your first opportunity to. And he took a chance on me, coming from Alcorn State as an offensive coordinator, just believing in me and our interactions with one another. Took a chance on Coach Prime, a guy who has the name recognition, but who had never coached college football. You know, had only been a high school football coach. And obviously we see after, 2 seasons that was obviously the right hire. And then to give Coach Dooley a chance at Prairie View, a guy who had been in the SWAC for a very long time, had been successful as a play caller for a very long time, but obviously had been passed up for a few jobs, during his tenure. And so for Ashley to see, something in all of us that made him believe that we were the right man for those respective programs really speaks to him. And I'm not exactly sure what it is. We haven't had that conversation, but he obviously has an eye for talent. And just like us as coaches, looking for that diamond in the rough recruit, the sign that maybe people are overlooking and becomes a great player. I think it's something to be said about an administrator who can look and find a guy who hasn't had the opportunity to be a head coach at any level and give us that chance and then have it pay off to pay huge dividends. So huge shout out to A-Rod, man. I tell you what, I love my boss, Courtney Gaucher, and I think he's the best AD in the world. But I say Ashley Robinson is a very, very close second.
Okay, and look, I'm pretty sure that Grambling and Alabama State has text, email, or phone called him and say, "Hey, man, what do we look for our next head football coach?" Because that and possibly a couple of other openings are going to be coming up within the conference, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, Coach, getting back to the game at hand, you basically have a tight end or offensive tackle playing quarterback that you're going to be facing, 6'7", 250 pounds. Um, do you see if he's comfortable in the pocket, rolling out, play action? What do you see some of the strengths of this young man that you have to encounter?
Well, one obviously size, like you said. He's built like an NFL tight end, built like a college offensive tackle. There's some college tackles that are 260 pounds at 6'7". But obviously the offense that they play allows him to do what he does best, to make plays. He's got some talented wide receivers, and they do a really good job. He's a smart guy. From all indications that we've received. I mean, he's very smart, processes information well. And so again, you have to do what you do with any type of great quarterback. Make him uncomfortable. Get him out of his comfort zone, get him off his spot, make him rush throws, make him second guess things. Make him be a second late with his reads, and have a chance to affect them. But if you let him get in the rhythm, he's shown all season that he can be dangerous. I think he's a reigning Walter Payton Award winner, and obviously probably is a front runner to win it again this year, as I believe he's leading the nation in passing. And so, again, we faced Quill Glass earlier this year, the top black college quarterback and pro prospect, and fared pretty well against him. But again, this will be another litmus test for our defense to see if we're as good as the rankings say. Dark Cloud defense has been playing extremely well all season. But again, we have not faced a guy with this type of ability and pro potential. So, we'll definitely have our hands full.
Well, you definitely have a young man that can be a neutralizer on that defensive side of the ball, looking to set an FCS record. Go and give us a little insight on the player at Spotlight, sir.
Well, Isaiah Land has had a phenomenal season. The nation's leader in sacks right now with 19. The school record is 20. So I'm not sure what the national single season record is, but our school record is 20. And so he's one sack away from tying the school record. So it's something that he thinks about. He doesn't talk about it very much, but I know he thinks about it. And he's also leading the nation in tackles for loss. So, he's a junior, been with us since our first year in the program, a guy that was under recruited. I think we might have been his only offer. When I came into and took the job, I went to my old stomping ground up in Atlanta and went to a school that's known for having talent. And the defensive line coach came out and said, "Hey, we got this wiry kid, that can rush the passer." And we looked at his film. He was about 6'3.5", 180 pounds at the time, maybe 175. But again, just saw a great motor, great tenacity, and again, we all in Florida we're built for speed, and so we signed the young man. He came down. He's been a great player for us. Monster in the weight room. He's up to 215 now, and he's a terror. I tell you what, man, just the way he plays the game, relentless, unselfish. He plays the run as well as the pass. And that's the impressive thing about Isaiah. So we're very excited about him, and we'll definitely need him to be on his A game this week because, again, like I said, to get out there, Cole Kelly, you have to get to him. And Isaiah Land has shown that he can do that better than anyone in the country.
Well, with that being said, sir, I know if he's able to get this big guy down, they ought to give him credit for 2 sacks, a 6'7", 250-pound quarterback. So it'd be a couple of sacks if you get one on this fella.
Well, no doubt about it. Again, I'm not sure how many times Cole's been sacked this year, but whenever you have that type of size, you look at guys like Ben Roethlisberger in the NFL. You can't just throw your body into those guys and think they're going to fall. I mean, you got to wrap them up. You got to, really do a great job of making sure that you got him on the turf because, again, he can extend plays. Again, the guy has a live arm to get the ball down the field, and you can't cover forever. So, again, you definitely have to try to get after him. But between Isaiah Land, Savion Williams, General Hunt, those guys that have been doing a great job all year, I think they're ready for the challenge to see if we can neutralize the most prolific passer that we've seen all year.
Well, Coach, I know you guys are going to be ready, prepared, and willing to go, and we want to wish you nothing but success in your venture on the FCS quest. And I'm not going to put you on the spot to pick who would win the SWAC championship, but if you could, I know you faced Jackson. What do you think the keys would be to both teams to have a successful day in that championship game?
Well, I think both teams are very similar, and they're both really good on defense. The three of us have been consistently the top 3 defenses in the country. In the conference all season. Jackson and our team have gone back and forth between the top ranking, but Prairie View's been right there. So I think both teams play really good defense. They're really good up front. They can run. They're very active. And then offensively, again, they both are driven by their quarterbacks. Obviously, Juwan Pass, Puma over there at Prairie View, and then Shador over at Jackson State, both playing at a really high level. Shador's a freshman, but playing above his years, and Puma's playing really good football too. So you got 2 great defenses going up against 2 really good quarterbacks. And so when you have games like that, I think it comes down to turnovers. And then again, it comes down to always that neutralizer, which is special teams. And I think the team that can protect the football and the team that can get something big in special teams, whether it be a big return or block kick, I think will be the team that's going to come out victorious. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, it would have been nice to be in the game, but obviously we got other things we got to take care of. But I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing who comes out on top and who wins this SWAC championship this year to represent the conference in the Celebration Bowl.
Absolutely. And hopefully, sir, by the time they do meet, you'll be in your 3rd round of the playoffs.
That would be the plan. So, again, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed, and what it would be a great thing if we can go out here and we can claim both national titles. We can go out and win the FCS title, and one of those guys can win the Black College national title. And let us go ahead and just put our brand on FCS football in our first year.
Yes, sir. Now, before we let you go, do you know if and when this game will be televised?
It's Saturday.
Uh-oh. Hold on, you went out when your phone switched over. Go back to where it's Saturday.
It's it'll be this coming Saturday, November 27th, and it's on ESPNU. Oh, it's one of the ESPN networks. I'm positive about that, and I think it's 6 p.m. Eastern time, Central time, which will be 7 p.m. Eastern time. But it's on one of the ESPN networks, either ESPN Plus or ESPN U, but it is televised on one of the ESPN networks.
Okay, sir. Well, we'll get a chance to cheer on the FAMU Rattlers and the SWAC conference as a whole, HBCU as a whole as well. And we thank you so much, my man, for making yourself available. I know you're grinding and trying to get things done, but we want to give you some closing thoughts and comments at this time.
Well, the one thing I will say, and again, and I don't want to make it seem like we're carrying the HBCU, the world of HBCUs on our shoulders in this playoff. But I do think it's important that we really, really support one another and get behind us. I know FAMU. I grew up here. I'm the head coach here. My whole family went to school here. I'm married to a Rattler. So I know we talk trash. And I know a lot of fans in the SWAC are so tired of hearing about the FAMU Rattlers. But this is a great time to put all of our differences aside and really come together to get behind us, because again, just what it would do to HBCUs at the Division I level if we can make a really, really deep run in this thing and even have a chance to win it. I think it will silence a lot of the outside stereotypes and critics about the level of play we have in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I keep telling people they're phenomenal coaches, phenomenal players, phenomenal football teams. And again, we just don't get the national recognition that we deserve. And so I'm honored and thankful to have this opportunity to represent the conference in the FCS playoffs. But again, we shouldn't be the last one. It's been 20 years since this has happened for a SWAC school. That's far too long. And if there's a deserving team that's not playing in the SWAC championship game, we shouldn't have to jump through hurdles and scratch and claw and do all of that to earn the respect to be ranked in the top 25 and play in the FCS playoffs. And so hopefully what we do this year has shown the nation that SWAC football is real and that the brand that we have here is second to none. And again, that now that the eyes are open, hopefully we can go down and represent. But it would be nice to have the full support of the HBCU family as we go out here and try to make history.
Well, I believe you have it, sir, unequivocally, and it will show itself up on November 27th. Thank you so much, my man, for joining in with us here on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. He is the head football coach of the FAMU Rattlers, Shotgun Willie Simmons. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you guys for joining us on this segment of the Mike Prince Show through the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.